The desert wind howled that evening, carrying with it the taste of dust and the smell of death. The Apache warrior woman lay broken on the earth, blood staining the sand beneath her. Once she had been proud, fierce, and untouchable, a protector of her people. But now her legs were gone, torn from her in the chaos of battle. Her tribe stood around her only long enough to look away. They had no use for a warrior who could no longer walk, no place for someone who could no longer fight. Without a word of comfort or even a glance back, they turned and left her there to die, abandoned to the buzzards and the silence of the desert. She stared up at the endless sky, pride keeping her from tears, but her heart whispered in pain that this was the end. Jackson Cole was riding the ridge when he saw her. A cowboy who had drifted from town to town, he was not famous for his gun, nor was he rich. He carried no glory, only a quiet strength and a heart that had not hardened like the rest of the world. Where another man would have turned his horse and kept riding, Jackson stopped. He dismounted, boots crunching the gravel, and knelt beside her. Her eyes opened, dark and sharp even through the haze of pain. "Leave me," she said, voice hoarse but commanding. "My people did." Jackson looked at her and shook his head. "No. I don't leave folks behind." With that simple vow, her story began again. He built a shelter of brush and canvas, hauled water from a creek, and fed her with whatever he could hunt. She fought him at first, her pride stronger than her body. "I am nothing without my legs," she spat one night, turning her face from him. Jackson only replied softly, "You're wrong, you're still here. That means you're not finished yet." His words struck her harder than the desert cold. Slowly, she began to trust him. He carved wooden supports to help her sit up. He told her stories of Texas, of how his mother had once told him that a good man is not measured by what he takes, but by what he gives when nobody is watching. One evening under the stars she asked him, almost in a whisper, "Why do you help me?" He looked at her as though it were the simplest truth in the world. Because kindness shouldn't need a reason. For the first time since the battle, she felt something flicker inside her chest, hope. But fate is never gentle. One day, 3 riders appeared on the horizon. Outlaws. They saw the camp and laughed at the sight of the woman in the dirt. "You're wasting your time, cowboy," one sneered. "That one's dead weight." Jackson's voice hardened. "She's with me." The men grinned cruelly. "Then she's ours too." They lunged, pistols flashing. Jackson fired, grit and gunpowder flying, but he was outnumbered. One outlaw broke through, rushing at the woman with a knife raised. Her warrior's heart thundered. She grabbed the sharpened stick Jackson had carved for her and, with all the strength she had, drove it into the man's chest. He fell in shock, lifeless in the dust. The others, startled, fled into the horizon. Jackson turned to her, breathless. She met his eyes, fierce and alive, and for the first time she smiled. "Still a warrior," he told her. From then on they were no longer strangers. Jackson built her a cart with wheels, pulled by his horse, so she could travel beside him. Together they crossed towns and lands, not as outcasts but as companions. He introduced her never as someone broken but as someone who had survived. She found a new tribe, not of blood, but of choice. Years passed and their story spread. Not a tale of riches or glory, but of kindness. People whispered of the Apache warrior who had lost her legs yet not her spirit, and of the cowboy who refused to abandon her. Around campfires, their legend grew. One evening, as the sun sank beyond the horizon and the desert turned gold, she looked at Jackson and whispered, "You saved me." He shook his head. "No, we saved each other." And for the first time since she had been left in the dirt, she believed it. Generations later, a billionaire woman walked into her vast home. She had wealth, power, everything money could buy. But her heart softened when she saw her young son laughing and splashing in a water tube with the janitor who worked quietly in her mansion. In that moment, she remembered a story her grandmother once told her, of a warrior woman left for dead, and the cowboy who had saved her with nothing but kindness. She realized then that it was not money, not power, not even legacy that mattered most. It was compassion. A single act of kindness can ripple through generations, changing lives long after the dust has settled. The desert may bury bodies. Tribes may abandon their own. But kindness, real kindness, never dies. It heals wounds no medicine can touch. It builds bonds stronger than blood. And it proves that no one, no matter how broken, is ever truly alone.